You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 272, How to Align with What You Really Want and Let Go of Mental Limitations. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful brave hearts. How are you doing? Happy New Year. I am so pumped to see what 2025 brings into life. I wanted to actually do an episode today all about the new year, goals, etc. And I'm gonna be honest, my friends. I was originally like, I want to set goals for 2025. I want to have all of this, set up and built out and build this big plan. And it felt very masculine. It felt very tactile and tangible. And the next steps, very much my vibe, which we love, right? And then I wanted to come on and show you how to do it. But I was running into this problem because I came to this realization that I'm trying to plan for something where I don't have all of the information yet. As I'm recording this, it's September of 2024, and my life is just going to be different when I have a kid. And trying to figure out what my focus or my intention is for 2025 without having the last quarter of the year, which will include a child, it's just like impossible because I just don't know what I don't know. I don't have all of the information. And honestly, when I sat down to record this episode, what came through to share with you is really based on each of you individually rather than like what you should do or how you should do it based off of what I have done. So I wanted to just take a moment, and for this week's episode, let's talk about authenticity and how to use your inner voice, your inner being, your intuition, what I like to call my inner alien, to set goals and make decisions about your year to come for 2025 if you're listening in real time, because that is what I'm going to be doing. And in September of 2024, all that has come through for planning of 2025 is gather more information. Clarity will be here before you know it. And this is just like a very side note, but I did get to buy a new Kindle and start reading more fiction books because I had really just gone off, self-help books. I love them, but I am craving a story. Actually, this is totally a side note. One of my favorite fiction books is called We Are Liars by E. Lockhart. She has two more that I like too, is Family of Liars and then Genuinely Fraud. And those books are amazing. But if you have any favorite fiction books, please DM me at Breakup Coach Dorothy on Instagram and let me know. But that came through. Otherwise, when it comes to like business or personal or family, like nothing was really coming through when it came to what are my goals and what am I doing for 2025 yet. So let's talk about authenticity and how to use that while you figure out what you want and how to let go of mental limitations. So what do I mean by authenticity? So what I mean by this is, what if this year, instead of like minding, thought working our way around expectations for the year and setting goals with the mind and our expectations of expectations from the external world of what we think we should have or create, what if we let like our inner beings guide the year to come? And if you're not super familiar with inner voice, let's just take a moment and address that. We have the mind and we have the inner voice. They're two very different voices that come up. So we've got the mind, which is your brain. It is a part of your body. And the mind's voice sounds very dramatic. It's black and white. It's all or nothing. It can be harsh and judgmental. There's oftentimes a lot of urgency or timing issues. Whereas the inner voice, your inner being, your intuition, what I like to call my inner alien, is the soul version of myself. That is the soul who is visiting here on earth as the form of a human. And my soul I know some people would say like they have a channel to God or a relationship with something that's higher than them. And so you can also kind of access that relationship, right? And that also might be something that you view as your intuition, your inner being, your inner wisdom, your inner guidance system. And that is all loving, right? Like the mind is scarce, fearful. The inner voice, the intuition, that inner being, that inner wisdom is loving, all knowing, all encompassing. It's not all or nothing or black or white. It's all inclusive, and it's very kind and patient, and there's never really any urgency. There's no good or bad or right or wrong. It's just very loving and all inclusive. And the inner voice is such a powerful tool in so many ways. And we've talked about it in a number of ways on the podcast here before. But I really love letting my inner voice guide decision making. And so this year for 2025, as we go into that year, I mean, I've been playing with this a lot for the last couple of years, but for 2025, we're really not only going to allow the inner voice to make decisions, we're going to allow the inner voice to guide the entire year of like, what are the intentions and the expectations. So could we let the inner voice provide us insight and inspiration for the unfolding of our life? And what if instead of setting actionable next steps, we set inspired and aligned next steps that were provided by the inner voice? And then, of course, we will have mind drama come up. Either way, we're going to have mind drama. If we let the mind set the goals or the inner voice set the goals, we will have mind drama. So, whatever you choose, then we'll use the mind, we'll cover. And when mind drama comes up, we can coach on it and do quote unquote thought work with it, right? So I want to challenge you with something this year. I would love to challenge you with one, setting this year's intentions and or goals with your inner voice rather than your mind, that inner being. Maybe you have, I know one of my clients calls it her inner star. But what if you allowed yourself to set intentions and goals for the year with that instead of your mind and the expectations? Wouldn't that be so crazy? Like, let the mind go on vacation. What? Sit down and do a session with just your inner voice. Let the mind go on vacation and explore and allow that inner voice to make the new year decisions. So here are some journal prompts that I want you to use. And if you are open to it, I would love for you to use it with your inner voice. I would love for you to tap into your inner voice and answer these questions with the inner voice rather than the mind. Now, if you're like, Dorothy, you've gone off the rails, this is not what I like about you, totally walk through these questions with your mind as well. That is totally fine. It's not a problem. But the first question is, in what way is it safe to let my inner voice lead and guide the way? And if you don't want to do that, in what way is it safe to let myself, my higher self, lead and guide the way? What is my inner voice open to that my mind might not be on board with? And another way to ask that, right, is what is my higher self open to that my mind might not be on board with? In what ways is the mind limiting what's available to me this year or in life at all? And if I really let myself want what I want, what would I say I want this year? If I could create anything, if I allowed myself to really lean into an authentic desire, is there something that I've been denying myself that I want because it seems so out of reach? And what goals or intentions do you want, inner voice? And another way to say that again is, what goals or intentions do you want, higher self? Some affirmations that I thought would be helpful as you're navigating early beginning of this year is, I'm safe to let my inner voice guide my desire into fruition. My inner voice knows the way, even if my mind is scared. My mind's going to be scared, by the way, no matter what. So we might as well allow the inner voice to guide and see what happens. My inner voice brings ease and fun and pleasure to my life. My inner being, inner alien, inner voice will come through when I need it to. I have endless access to a wisdom that is bigger, deeper, and broader than my mind could ever go. So some homework for this month as you venture into your bigger and better life of 2025 is this, okay? I want you to play with, setting your intentions and goals with your inner voice instead of the mind. I literally want to hear about this. DM me at Breakup Coach Dorothy on Instagram, please. What comes up with your inner voice that your mind had no idea it wanted to do? And then 2, for the month, can you allow yourself to move forward with the inner voice? Like, can you allow yourself to move forward with the intentions or goals that your inner voice says, and then do thought work or emotional clearing to help the mind get on board? And if you're not familiar with what those 2 things are, we definitely cover them on the podcast, and we deep dive cover them in the Get Over Your Ex course and program. But emotional clearing is allowing yourself to move through emotion. Processing an emotion is very different than feeling your feelings or like being in your emotion. We want to process an emotion so that you have a shift. If you don't have a shift, you're just in your emotions. If you have a shift and you have moved through an emotion, then you've processed the emotion, okay? And it's like a car wash, I found. So like the best thing I've done for myself this year is regularly gone through the car wash, meaning I regularly emotionally clear at least 3 to 4, sometimes 5 times a week. I am clearing emotion. I set aside 15 minutes to clear emotion on a daily basis. And because when you wash off your car, let's say you go and you get it all super muddy, you wash it off once. It's a lot easier to like wash it off weekly than it is to wait and let it all build up and then do it again. So rinsing regularly, right? And when you do this, what's so cool is like when you are emotionally clear, your nervous system's calm, your inner voice comes through a lot clearer, you have a lot less mind drama, you just work through things a lot easier. And then thought work, you can always use thought work to help your mind get on board as well. And that's everything that I teach on here, right? Like thoughts create feelings, feelings fuel actions, actions create results. So we can look at any sort of limiting mental limitations. What are the thoughts that are keeping you from taking action in alignment with your inner voice? Okay. And that work is also so beautiful to help you get the mind on board, because we're not going to do anything the mind is not on board with. We need the mind and the inner voice working together cohesively. All right, my beautiful brave hearts. I love you so much. Like I said, Happy New Year. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will talk to you next time.
If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.